So typically parents are used to thinking, and I'm speaking for myself, like kids go into the room at school and it's the same for every kid, and then they come home and all that. And so I'm thinking like, well, there has to be some kind of teaching formula that I need to know. So what you just said was, it's totally different. So would you say you adapt the teaching style and the environment to your child? And if so, how in God's name do you do that for 5?
Well, so the way it works for us, and like I said, it's going to be different for everybody, but the way it works for us, we stick to 8:00 for starting school time. And I think it is important to try to stick with that as much as you can. And if you're doing e-learning live, I guess that kind of helps. But if they're used to lunch at 10:30, then do lunch at 10:30. Try to do what they're used to. We have to have flexibility because I have a 3-year-old who's incredibly demanding.
They all are.
They kind of all are, right. But sometimes if I start out in the morning, my older 2 can do their own thing. I can't work with my 7-year-old, my 5-year-old, and also entertain a 3-year-old. So we do what works. I rotate through. If my 3-year-old is extra demanding, you know what? I let it be. I snuggle with her. I read with her. I try to incorporate what I can. If she wants to snuggle, then I'll get a book out and read to her and invite my 7 and 5-year-old in there with me. And that's still good. That's still quality time reading together. It's not doing a worksheet, but that's okay. Worksheets aren't the only way to learn. So if they just seem a little more needy of attention or whatever, then I'll just play with them and try to incorporate a little bit of learning with the little ones through, whatever we're doing. With the little ones, the perception is that it's harder because, they don't have an attention span like the older kids. They can't sit still and so forth. But in a way, it kind of makes it easier because you can incorporate normal life into their learning. We try to be kind of creative with things. I used my children to do a chore. We had a bunch of socks that needed matching. We're going to play a matching game. My whole point of that, though, is that it does take time to find your groove. And one of the best things I think you can do is to develop somewhat of a routine, but don't feel so constricted by it that you get stressed if you go off of it. For us, we do school in the morning and then lunch, and then we usually have a little period of time where I kind of go over things with the older kids and such. In my mind, there are 4 things that should be done every day other than education, and that's outdoor time, reading, chores, and exercise. I know everyone's kind of weird about screen time right now, and good Lord, use it if you need to. But
yeah, I know, right?
No judgment zone. If you need it, use it. I mean, nobody's going to be in your house to judge you, right? You're alone.
No,
who's going to know? I mean, you don't want to develop unhealthy habits because it'll be really hard to break them when things do get back to normal. But
yeah,
but there are plenty of things to do without the screen, and I think it is important to set those boundaries at the beginning of all this so that you don't break away and get into the bad habits and let those form, and it'll be harder to get out of them. But
so that brings me